And thanks for joining us here on WLTX Plus. I'm Chief Meteorologist Efren Afante, giving you the update on now have potential tropical cyclone 9. This is the one formerly known as 94L that we've been watching for the last 2.5 days. And there was a lot of indications that this would be potentially something of interest to South Carolina. Well, now we have that. The latest information, this literally was updated about 3 minutes ago. The National Hurricane Center has sustained winds at about 35 miles an hour, gusting to 45. Its forward motion from the last update at 5 o'clock has slowed down just a touch, moving to the west-northwest at 10 miles per hour. Its position is about 75 miles just off the eastern peninsula of Cuba. Well, as you can see, not very organized. It's sitting there and there's a lot of convection, a lot of thunderstorm activity around it, but it's not very circular. Nevertheless, because we already have potential tropical cyclone 9, and the reason why they're calling it that big long word is that it's not very organized as a tropical cyclone or a tropical storm or a hurricane. It's getting its act together, but it's not conformed the way it should look like when it comes to those tropical type storms. Well, nevertheless, they've already issued and updated now tropical storm warnings for the southern Bahamian Islands. Central and northern Bahamian Islands are under a tropical storm watch. The forecast models are indicating that by tomorrow, sometime in the afternoon, it'll become a tropical depression, a little more organized, but wind sustained at about 35 miles an hour where it is now. By Sunday morning, it becomes Tropical Storm Imelda. That's the next name on the list. Have sustained winds at wind gusts of 40 miles per hour Sunday morning. From Sunday morning through Monday morning, it'll start increasing in intensity. Tropical Storm Imelda by Monday with winds at 65 miles an hour. That's Monday morning. By Monday night, it gets up to 75. And then now it's classified as a Category 1 hurricane. And notice the trajectory. This is really important to understand. At this time, the trajectory is indicating that by Tuesday, sometime in the afternoon to evening, looking at 75 mile an hour wind gusts, and then Wednesday, 70 miles an hour, regardless of whether it's a tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane, 70 to 75 mile an hour wind gusts is the potential. Now, you stress that word potential because this track will deviate and will change over the course of the next several days, but it covers just about all, in fact, it covers all of South Carolina, all the way out to Oconee County. And this 5-day track also puts it that it could be as far east as New Bern, North Carolina. It could be as far south as Deltona Beach, Florida, as far as an actual landfall, and everywhere in between. So even though South Carolina is right in the middle, as far as the potential landfall and the actual landfall, this is going to change quite a bit. But the bottom line is that at this time, all of South Carolina, all of us here in the Midlands, should be aware that at least on the 5-day track, the whole Palmetto State, from the coast inland, has the potential of, when it turns to Imelda, whether it's a tropical storm or a hurricane, to be impacting many of our communities. Now, the latest guidance and information that we've got, the impact timing frame we're looking at from Monday to Wednesday. And starting Monday, it could be morning or afternoon, but nevertheless, on Monday, possible tropical rainfall. Now, tropical rainfall downpours, but stretched out, at least to these 3 days for the hurricane or the tropical storm, we're looking at the tune of maybe 3 to 6 inches of rainfall. That is going to be on the low end. There'll be a better chance for more rainfall, like towards 6 inches when you head towards the Grand Strand and the Low Country coastline. Further inland into the Midlands, the PD, you're talking about maybe upwards of maybe 4 to 5. And then when you get to the upstate, about 3 to 5. And then the CSRA, maybe in the tune of upwards of 3. But nevertheless, we're talking about tropical impacts. As far as the rainfall, looking at Monday, it covers all of South Carolina, and in particular, just about all locations along and south of I-20 all the way to the coast have a slight risk. So a better chance that periodic rainfall throughout the day could lead into some flooding issues. But then we have Tuesday, and Tuesday, well, it's the same thing, but it moves just a little bit more west as far as a slight risk. So just from the tropical cyclone itself, we're looking at the possibility of quite a bit of rainfall that could lead into flooding. The winds, the rainfall, again, highest totals, because of the way it's moving, highest totals are going to be pretty much from the PD and the Eastern Midlands all the way down to the Grand Strand. And excuse me, and we're looking at the same thing when you go to North Carolina, from the coast all the way into areas of Fayetteville, Lumberton, all the way up to the Golden Triad. They're going to have higher totals than everybody towards the foothills of the Tar Heel State. The winds are going to be problematic. Notice no winds right now for Sunday. Tropical storm force winds, at least in this framing that we have so far, we could start feeling a 1 in 3 chance that we'll start feeling tropical storm wind gusts as early as Tuesday night into Wednesday, but the highest probability right now is on the coast. That will change as it gets closer. Hurricane force winds, there's nothing indicating right now that from Sunday all the way into Monday that we'll expect hurricane force winds. At this time right now, there's no indication right through Wednesday. That will also change as we go through, and especially by the end of the weekend. So it's important to understand that we may have that cone, but there's still quite a bit of uncertainty, and that has a lot to do with this one. This is the 8 o'clock the 5 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center. Hurricane Humberto is a Category 3, winds gusting up to 140 miles an hour. There's a big problem with this one, and I'll show you in a second. It's moving to the west-northwest at 5 miles an hour. Pressure is down to 926 millibars. It's a very strong storm. It's a very compact storm with a very well-defined eye. The biggest problem is the movement, the forward motion. I can run faster than that, really, but it has been at 5 or less miles per hour over the course of the last, probably pushing 48 hours, the last 2 days. It is very slow to move. That's going to be problematic for when it eventually becomes Imelda. Because even though it's a Category 3, it is forecasted to become a Category 4 hurricane by tomorrow morning. Winds of 130, and potentially by Sunday morning, winds of 150 gusting. Now, as it makes its way through the Caribbean, it is going to start turning more towards the northwest. And that position by Monday night going into Tuesday, regardless of the fact that it's a Category 4 to a Category 3, the important thing is that it's going to start making a northerly turn. And by Tuesday going into Wednesday, turns to the northeast. So it's wrapping around Bermuda, but more importantly, there's a very broad area of high pressure. That's why Humberto is going around it. It's not similar to what Gabrielle did. Gabrielle was not as pronounced as this. The problem that we have is that if it shades a little bit further to the west, that will impact the direction of potentially where Imelda is going to go. All the computer spaghetti models, though, at least are consistent that by the time we get to Monday and Tuesday, it very likely will stay on that track. Notice a lot of the guidance models are compact right in the middle. So at least we have a depiction of what may potentially happen with Humberto. And if that's the case that Humberto stays in that track, well, it's not going to force Imelda to start moving even closer to the coast. And the problematic about that, now it deviates from where it's actually going to make landfall. The water temperatures are, very simply put, insanely warm. If you remember, when Gabrielle made its way up the central Atlantic, heading towards Bermuda, it was on the right side of this track. In fact, Gabrielle, as it made its way towards Bermuda, it was about 200 miles east of Bermuda, over 200 miles, when it finally paralleled it as it continued into North Atlantic. That very likely has to do with the fact that the water temperatures just to the east of the track of Humberto, the water temperatures are pushing right around 84 degrees. When Gabrielle was pushing through, the water temperature at the time was about 88. That's a noticeable factor because as strong as Gabrielle was, it churned up the waters from well beneath a fathom and pulled that water up. So basically when you flush the toilet and that spin, go reverse now with a hurricane. It's actually pulling the water from below, maybe about a fathom, maybe about 60, 70 feet, but that's cooler water and that's cooled off the water. Where Humberto is going, nothing has gone through there, so the water temperatures are pushing 86 to 88 degrees. It's going to have a lot of fuel, again, to become a Category 4 and stay like that all the way until Tuesday. This is the issue that I'm watching because the water temperatures right now, just on the north shores of Cuba, are pushing about 91 degrees. The water temperatures of the east coast of Cuba is right around 88 to 89 degrees. Water temperature needs to be 81 or higher. That's enough fuel to make a tropical storm or a hurricane keep its strength. The water temperatures will stay 86 to 80, or rather 88 degrees or more all the way through late Sunday before it gets right in the area north of the Bahamas. And then from that point on, temperatures at 86 to 88 degrees. If you can see this, and I tell all you folks all the time, if you're colorblind, just look at the different shades of the gray or the blue, depending on how you see it. But the water temperatures right off our coast. So you're talking about anywhere from Myrtle Beach all the way down to about Charleston. The water temperature right now, right around 78 degrees. You get from Fripp Island to Hilton Head, the water temperature is 78, nearly 80 degrees, but that's right on the coast. Go out about 10 miles, water temperature is 80 to 82. Go out about 50 to 100 miles, water temperature is 86. So there is a lot of warm water, and nothing has ever gone through here so far this year that it's going to have a chance to intensify. And the model track's already indicating that by Monday, Imelda will be a Category 1 hurricane and stay like that until Tuesday. The focal point will be as we get to Sunday, and Sunday night, early Monday, how much strengthening is it done? Because at this point right now, it's showing that it'll go up to a Category 1. There's a possibility it may go up to a 2. But the focal point first will be how organized it'll be in the next 24 hours. And then once it's organized to whatever it is, from Sunday night into Monday, how organized will it be to actually strengthen? As far as the strength of the winds, well, the left side, okay, we already seen that for Imelda. But the tropical storm force winds, as far as Humberto, are going to be focused around that track, and that's indicative of what we expect from all the models. The hurricane force winds, again, we're expecting it to be a Category 4, but it'll be very focused within the trajectory right in the center of where the National Hurricane Center puts it. And notice, hurricane force winds not even an issue all the way till Wednesday for South Carolina and Imelda, but it's still too early to call. Bottom line is that we are watching very carefully potential tropical cyclone number 9 that by some point tomorrow into maybe early Sunday, it will become Tropical Storm Imelda. And at that point, we're going to watch the possibility of the intensity as it's expected to get to a Category 1 hurricane by Monday night. The impact timing that we're looking at for us here in South Carolina, the potential landfall by Wednesday night. If this is a very strong tropical storm or even a Category 1 hurricane, this may show a trajectory of making it move inland by Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, but we will start feeling the impacts of this potentially as early as Monday, midday to early morning. That's what we want to make sure that you understand all the information on this. Planning and preparing, the 3 things to make sure that you understand is 1, the information of what it's saying. If this is actually going to make a landfall on us or not, it is too early to tell. But this trajectory suggests that we're going to have an impact to one degree or another. The second thing is plan and prepare now. Anything that you might need in case you have to evacuate or you have to stay at somebody's house that's a little bit further into the upstate for a couple days. And 3, get your information from reliable sources. Make sure you get that from the National Weather Service, from the National Hurricane Center, from the South Carolina Emergency Management Division, and here on News 19. We'll continue updating all the information here on WLTX Plus, on social media, as well as on News 19 on air and online. But for the round, I'm Chief Meteorologist Efren Infante. Stay with us. We'll keep you advised.